If you're looking to make a move to St. George, Utah, and you're wondering if it's the right place for you, well, in today's video, we're going to take a look at the pros and cons of living in St. George. All right, let's get to it. If this is your first time to this channel, we talk about everything there is to know about living in Cedar City and the surrounding areas, St. George being one of those areas. My name is Elizabeth Prisbrey. I'm with Stratum Real Estate Group. If you are looking to make a move to Southern Utah, I would love to help you make that move. You can find my information down below in the description. Please don't hesitate to reach out. I promise you I will respond. All right, let's take a look at the pros and cons of living in St. George, Utah. Now, there isn't a city out there that doesn't have both bad and good things that come along with it. Of course, we'd love to dream of that perfect place, but every city is going to have a con that comes along with a pro. I want to take a look at the pros of living in St. George, Utah first, and then we'll jump into those cons, which is probably what you're really here to see, because you don't want to move somewhere if there's going to be something that you can't handle. So let's jump into these and see what you think. The first pro that I want to bring to light, and the reason why most people decide to move to St. George, is the proximity to a lot of national and state parks. Within a short distance from St. George, within an hour, we've got Sand Hollow State Park, there's Zion National Park, there's Coral Pink Sand Dunes, there's the Snow Canyon State Park that is really close to St. George. And there are a lot of outdoor recreational activities that come with it. Quite a lot of hiking. You can take inner tubes down the Virgin River. You can ride in the sand dunes with your four-wheelers or motorcycles or side-by-sides, whatever it is that you ride. You can hike the Narrows. It's also very close to Canara Falls. Everything is within an hour's drive, and most of it is 20 to 30 minutes to get to those beautiful national and state parks. My second pro is going to have to be the weather. For 9 months out of the year, St. George has very mild temps that allows you to be outside and enjoy those recreational activities that we talked about. In the winter, you're going to have an average temperature of the low 50s for a high and then the low 30s for a low. It really doesn't get that cold. You can wear a light jacket if you're going outdoors, but if you're going to work up a sweat, you're probably going to take it off halfway through your hike or golf or whatever it is that you're doing. The spring and fall in St. George is really a beautiful time. The weather is perfect. You don't need a jacket. You might even be able to wear shorts, but it just feels really, really nice outside. And so you get great weather for a good 9 months out of the year, which makes it a great destination for people to live and visit. The next pro I have for St. George is that there is beautiful scenery surrounding the city. St. George sits in the valley of a desert, but it's not your typical desert. Surrounding the valley is going to be a red sandstone rock. Really. There's mesas surrounding the valley, and it's in a unique geological transition zone where the Colorado Plateau meets the Great Basin. So it really is just a stunning desert, really. It's not your typical cactus and tumbleweed and just flat dirt. It is stunning. It sits down in the valley within this red sandstone mesa. The next pro I have for you is that St. George brings with it a very friendly, small town, family-oriented community. Although St. George has grown quite large, it is one of the fastest growing cities in the US because it has so much to offer. It still provides that small town feel. Of course, if you get down into the old part of St. George, where you're going to have your St. George Boulevard and a lot of your shopping around where the University Tech is, it's going to be a little bit more congested down there and not quite feel like the small town. However, St. George is filled with a lot of suburbs, and they're pretty quiet neighborhoods, very family oriented, and everyone here just is really pretty friendly. And I found that a lot in Southern Utah. People will say hi to you, they'll smile. It's generally a happy environment, which is a great pro of living here. Another great pro of living in St. George, Utah is going to be the low crime rate. It is a very low crime rate here in St. George. It's a pretty safe place to live. Of course, there's going to be crime anywhere, especially as the population grows. However, it's not those violent crimes. It's a very minimal violent crime rate. It's going to be more property damage, those kind of things, which we don't love either, but that is minimal, and it's going to happen in those areas that, again, are very congested. We know crime can happen anywhere. It's going to be everywhere in the country. So if you're looking for a place with a lower crime rate, St. George is the place for you. And then the last pro that I wanted to touch on, there's many, many more. These are going to be your main pros and cons. So I want to make that clear. There are still so many pros of St. George, Utah. But the last one that I want to note today is the job growth in St. George. The unemployment rate in St. George is well below the national average, and it is projected that St. George's job market is going to grow by about 55% over the next 10 years. The national average is around 33% over the next 10 years, so that shows you what kind of growth is happening in St. George. Now, that was a brief list of the pros. They are great pros, and of course, like I said, there are many, many more. For now, that's a starting point. If you have any of your own, I'd love you to list those below so that we can have a conversation about those, because I'm sure that I missed something that is important to you. All right, now let's take a look at the cons of living in St. George. We all want to know about the cons because we want to know, can I actually live there, or is this going to be too much for me? The first con I want to touch on is that the summers are very hot. I came from Las Vegas. I was born and raised in Las Vegas, so I am used to a hot summer. 120 degrees out on a turf soccer field might be just about the worst thing ever. St. George is going to be very, very similar to the summers in Las Vegas. So those 3 months, June, July, August, it's pretty hot to be outside. You do feel like you're melting. There's an average high of 110 degrees right in that middle summer, and then your average low is going to be right around 80 degrees in the summertime. It has had a height of 117 degrees a couple of years ago in 2021, but plan on the hottest being closer to 110 degrees. Now, that does make 3 months of really kind of miserable weather as far as getting in the car and driving to work or driving to the grocery store and running your errands. You are going to melt off. But if you have some air conditioning, it's fine. I just stay inside in the summer. Or it's great for pool days or lake days, getting out into the water, getting your children out to splash pads. Or if you play golf, if you go in those morning hours, if you're an avid golfer and you don't really mind the 80-degree temps, you can still get out on the golf course early in the morning. What I will say about the hot summers is that St. George is still in close proximity to Cedar City. Cedar City is only a 40 to 45 minute drive north from St. George, and it's going to be about 20 degrees cooler. So if you are needing a little bit of a break from that, you can head north for about 40 minutes and hit Cedar City. If you're really wanting to feel chilly, you can go an hour and a half north from St. George and hit Bryan Head, Utah. Those temperatures are going to be a good 40 degrees lower than St. George in the summertime. So you can hit that in an hour and a half, and it's a nice little escape up the mountain, beautiful pine trees, scenery. You can see cedar breaks. So there are escapes to that hot summer. The next con I want to note for St. George is the median household income. It is around $65,000 for St. George, and the national median household income is closer to $71,000. So St. George is below that national median household income, which might put a damper on your lifestyle, but maybe that's not a concern for you. I don't know what your job is. Only you know what your job is and what you can make. That's just the median household income here. So earning potential isn't quite as high as some locations in the US. The next con that I want to know about living in St. George, and this might be a pro for some, it could be a con for others. I want to note it because I came from Las Vegas, and as you know, if you live in Nevada, there's no state tax. However, moving from Nevada to Utah, I now pay state tax. So there is an income tax of 4.85% in 2023 for the state of Utah. So if you're coming from a state that didn't pay income tax, if you move to southern Utah, you're going to be paying income tax. Now, that could be a pro for some if you're coming from a state that had a higher income tax. So that's something to note there, but I do want you to be aware of that if you are looking to make a move here to St. George. The next con I want to note is the infrastructure. St. George has grown massively in the last few years. Our population growth has been quite high. The infrastructure or the roads around St. George Boulevard, where the shopping is, where the Walmart and Costco and Target are, that area can get really congested with traffic, especially on tournament weekends. We'll have softball tournaments, soccer tournaments, football tournaments, all of those coming in. That area can get really congested and it's super annoying. I don't love it. So that's something to think about. However, St. George is expanding outward. If you get into the outskirts, some of the towns, Washington, Ivan, Santa Clara, if you want to see my map tour for St. George, Utah, I will put that down below in the description so that you can kind of see where those are located. But if you get away from that center part of St. George, then the infrastructure is great. The roads are great. There's not a lot of traffic. It's really well set up. So that's something to think about there. But I think that's typical of most cities. Seems like when you get to the center of town, things get a little bit congested. Another con that I found with St. George is that it does have high housing costs, especially when you compare that to the median household income. There are some beautiful homes in St. George, some mansions, and I'm just wondering, where are people making their money? That's what I'm wondering. But the housing there is so beautiful and such beautiful neighborhoods. So it does have a high median sales price. For example, in the last year, the median sales price has been around $490,000. In the last month, it has dipped a little bit to $480,000, but that is well above the national median home sales price. So that's something to think about there. Now, a lot of people that come here, if you're coming from the West, the home prices might seem pretty low to you because it's much lower than what you're used to seeing, and the homes are larger. However, that might be different if you're coming from somewhere that the homes are massive and beautiful, but at a much lower price point. Something to think about there, home prices are higher than the national median. The last con that I want to note about St. George is that there is not much in the way of late night entertainment. For example, if you're looking for late night bars or clubbing or shows, live shows, you're going to have to head south to Las Vegas. That is about an hour and 45-minute drive to the center of Las Vegas, down where the Strip is, if you want to experience any of that. Remember, St. George is a very family-oriented community, so there isn't a lot of that. There are some bars and some karaoke in St. George. Of course, we have our Tuacahn plays, which are amazing. But if you're not into that scene, or if you're looking more for the clubbing type scene, then you're gonna have to go to Vegas. But if you're moving to St. George, you're likely looking for that outdoor recreational activity and scenery. With none of that late night entertainment also comes very limited shopping options. There is a smaller mall in St. George. It has Dillard's, JCPenney, H&M, there's a Barnes & Noble in there. And then there's a few boutique shops, but there's not like a food court. Other than that, we have a Target, we have a Walmart, there is a Costco, of course we have Home Depot and Lowe's. So you are going to be able to do that type of shopping. But if you're looking for, say, dresses for a formal, you're likely going to want to go south again to Las Vegas. When I bought my daughter's dress for prom, we went to Las Vegas and we shopped there to get her dress. One, there was more variety, and two, there was a less likely chance that she'd be wearing the same dress as somebody else at her school. So a lot of people will go do their school shopping in Las Vegas or formal dress shopping in Las Vegas. But again, that can be done in a day and it's a nice little trip with your family. So there you have it, our pros and cons of living in St. George, Utah. Of course, there are going to be more depending on what you find value in. Please leave them down below in the comments. They will help other people that are watching this video. And if you have any questions on anything, please feel free to leave those as well. I am happy to answer any questions that you have for me. Once again, if you are thinking of making a move here to St. George or really anywhere in southern Utah, my name is Elizabeth Prisbrey. I'm with Stratum Real Estate Group. I would love to help you make that move. Please don't hesitate to reach out. I promise I will answer. All right, until next time, have a wonderful day.